Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Outside the Fox, episode 7. We're going to be talking a lot today, a little bit of some video game news, Bonanza, Xbox, and whatnot, and lots of coverage with MagicCon, Las Vegas. My brother and me went there, and he'll be on the show later to kind of talk about what happened, just talk about the trip, talk about Magic. So, all right, Xavier, lead us as usual.
All right, so Death Stranding 2 released. I'm not a big fan of Death Stranding. In general, I think aesthetically it's nice. It's cool, neat. It's very weird, very Kojima. It's awesome. But in particular, I like the character Higgs. He just has his presence on screen, and I didn't want to play Death Stranding 2 to experience all that, so I just kind of watched all his scenes. Very neat. I love that character. That whole world is very weird.
Yes, very fun.
It's the gameplay itself is what just keeps me away from playing it. I tried before the director's cut came out, I'll give it a shot, and I said, this is not it. I was 2 hours in, I was like, we're not doing this, dude.
It takes about 15 to 20 for you.
No, thanks.
I mean, it's a commitment. So
I just didn't want, but that was something that I really enjoyed. I know you're a Death Stranding fan. We're both Death Stranding fans, but you're more enjoying the game and everything like that. I just like that world, that aesthetic. That is very weird, very neat. I liked Troy Baker's performance.
Troy Baker in any game is just amazing.
But he brings this weird, charismatic, just arrogance to it. It's really neat. I like it. I like it a lot. Let's see. Pragmata is an actual video game.
Yeah,
it's an actual thing.
I keep seeing the clip. I like that the Pragmata on X Twitter profile just keeps commenting whoever's working behind the scenes has been really hard at work, commenting on every single thread I see, even if it's somebody just posting gameplay, and if it's a big enough person on their profile, they'll comment and talk about it. They're like, oh yeah. It looks amazing, it looks fascinating.
Yeah, it looks awesome, but it was just weird. They're like, oh, here's a little trailer, and it was not a thought for 4 or 5 years. They're just it's still around, don't worry about it, and then it just boom, here you go. Here's a gameplay overview trailer and all that. It looks very neat. It looks like it's going to be a little difficult mechanically, as far as wrapping your head, because you have to solve puzzles while you're shooting and all that. That seems pretty neat. I like that idea. What do you think about it?
I think it's one of those games where they try to be ambitious, and I'm glad it paid off. I think games, I could think of a lot of games that would be a good game, but they're ambitious, I guess, because it's one thing. It's like doing a painting. You can see it in your head, and then you actually start putting paint the paintbrush and just start kind of getting on the canvas.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, the implementation of this is incredibly difficult to actually pull off.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of games, they want to be bigger than they are. And I imagine that in the back end storyboards and when they're designing the games, they probably have a ton of really cool ideas. But like Shadow of the Colossus, I like it because people praise it for what it is. And I love it because they're we're just doing bosses and they did a great job of each boss and making sure it felt like a true experience, when you go in and finding them and all that. But they didn't get too ambitious to the point where I can imagine if you added. I mean, I guess the lore is there's no one in this forbidden place, but just to kind of imagine if you went and there's villagers and there's more people, that's just more gameplay. I like that they said, hey, we're going to focus in on this idea and really make this game the best it can be for what it is, and I don't know. I like it. It seems ambitious in that way, and sometimes that ambition pays off. I mean, they kind of innovate, and everyone's like, "Wow, this is genre-defining kind of game." Maybe I'm talking too highly, but Capcom, who I believe is behind this one, they're one of those companies that I really like to believe in. I genuinely get very happy to see them succeed.
Same. Even as a kid, it was oh, Capcom, I'm in there. It doesn't matter what it is. They had that slump for a little while there when they were chasing trends and everything, but I think they've gotten back to their roots, and they're doing a good job with every release, every project that they're putting out. There's at least thought and people who are passionate about that project behind the scenes, and they're making it work. I think every game, every project needs somebody who's going to champion that project to the finish line, and it seems like they have the right people to do that for every single one. And it's been working out great for them. Pragmata looks like it's, I would love to know what happened, where they just here you go, and then, I don't know, because it seems like a Metroid Prime 4 situation, where they were just we have an idea and everything, but it just wasn't working out, so they scrapped it. And they just didn't say anything for years, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we got to figure it out now.
I know we talked about this one a lot recently, but Scalebound's kind of I guess, for us, the ambition line, there's a lot of ambition. I think Xbox felt like they couldn't pull the trigger on the ambition they had, like to actually implement it the right way.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping with this game, it comes out. It's Death Stranding. Going back to, it's a very ambitious game. It's very ambitious, very fun, and I think you have to have someone like a visionary like Kojima who can like see that vision through and really like walk it to the finish line. Because I'm sure there's parts where you're like, I don't know, I'm not sure if I want it. You know what I mean? You kind of lose steam on it and stuff. You've seen movies or projects where like the first half's really good and then like kind of slumps because people, you can just tell they get tired with it. They get tired of like carrying this thing out because Death Stranding 1 was 50 to 60 hours to go through. And that's a long game. That's a lot of time. I can't imagine the hundreds and hundreds, thousands of hours that went into making that game.
Yeah.
So, it's rough. So hopefully if Pragmata, I'm hoping it's pretty good.
Yeah,
I'm
same.
good.
Like I said, it looks interesting, and I'm glad at least it's back on the table.
I think buddy games like back 20 years ago got a lot of crap for what they were. I think that genre. We always think about the bad AI. We're still kind of scarred by like some of the
Resident Evil 5. Yeah,
some of the absolutely horrible AI and like. I have had a pretty good opinion since Last of Us. Like Ellie to me was like absolutely amazing and number one on PS3, even like just fantastic. Was never in my way. Great lines, great like you build a relationship with the characters. That's an example of what a good buddy game could be. Like if you try like where you have like a friend throughout the entire game. Final Fantasy 15 is one I've played. Like I'm hoping Pragmata it's going in the same direction. Like they got I don't call it a buddy game, but like one where you have an AI as someone who helps you. Either you're playing the person and you switched out, but like regardless, I don't care. Like you just want if there's any AI/computer to help, like to actually be helpful. I don't want them to beat everybody. Yeah. To the point you're like, oh, it's too easy. But
now it's like, oh, just let them do all the work. You know what I mean? I think that turnaround happened with Elizabeth in BioShock Infinite.
Yes.
I remember she got a lot of praise. And developers got a ton of praise for her being actually helpful and not just getting in the way and getting killed. Then you have to start that mission all over. She actually hides. Oh, here's some ammo, and it was really, really good.
Atreus is another good one for like Ragnarok and the first reboot, I guess, of God of War. But that's one that I like. I think like with Capcom, it's pretty good. We're at a different point in games. Like I'm still thinking back from that perspective of like where it was terrible and everybody was like, man, this is rough. But we're actually kind of way beyond that at this point. Like you said, late 2000s, turn the corner and kind of like that's an older conversation you don't hear as much unless the developer just doesn't maybe have the skill set or the right people on the team to carry that through. But I believe in Capcom. Capcom's pretty big. Yeah. It'd be kind of wild for them to make a bad game this size. Yeah. Feels like a Megan on your back kind of scenario.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me.
All right, let's see. So just quick, Claire Obscure Expedition 33. I haven't played it yet, but I see a lot of people giving it praise.
Tons.
And then Charlie Cox, or is that?
Yeah.
Is that
that's the voice actor.
He's the voice actor, and he said he feels like a fraud because he just went in, he said he recorded for like 4 hours, and then people were like, oh, I love you, this is great, good job. And he's like, I don't even know what you mean. Like, so I just thought that was really good. I'm glad this game's getting a lot of praise. Yeah. It's a small team, and they did a really good job, and I hope that they get their flowers at the, Game of the Year stuff, at the end of the year, so...
I definitely like whenever you don't just see like Capcom. I'm just going to throw out Konami because it's an easy name, but like just different like Ubisoft, like your traditional EA, just 2K, your traditional like Rockstar. Well, then they're part of the same studio, but you get what I'm saying. You get what I mean. But basically, like you're saying, normal people that you see at the table. It's nice to see someone pull up and be like, "Hey, this is right." I mean, the Balatro is one of those games where like it's we've seen people just be like, "Oh my god," and it's cool. It's really amazing. I think they envisioned the American dream for a lot of people. Like if you have that dream of like small rags to riches kind of style, like you don't have this massive company and corporation behind you, but like you got nothing more than like you're scrappy and you've got a computer and you
got gumption.
You're ready to roll. And I love seeing that with like obviously I know it's a French team, but the concept of that that American dream style, rags to riches style, like where you see someone succeed because they really tried and. Even they may not have been worried about the money, but just making sure the game was good.
Yeah, it reminds me of almost like Baldur's Gate 3, where there was an enormous passion behind that game, and that team was just dedicated, and they just pushed through and saw everything to the end, and people recognize that success and just how the quality of the game really speaks for itself.
100%. I definitely agree.
Yeah. So. All right. Let's see. So I just want to know, there's a game I want to play. It's out now. I haven't gotten it yet. It's called Date Everything. Supposedly you can date a house. You can date literally anything in the game.
Let's go.
And it's supposed to be like just this comedic fun thing. And I'm really looking forward to playing it because I heard nothing but good things during like previews and stuff months ago. So that's fun. Mind's Eye. Have you heard anything about Mind's Eye at all?
No, and I was gonna make one the day everything. That reminds me of the Simpsons episode where like Homer becomes I guess like a pastor, a priest, or whatever, and he starts marrying everybody, like the sea captain to the front of the bow of his ship. Like people like it reminds me of that, where like that kind of wild part of the game. I'm hoping that sounds fun. I just want. That one's absolutely amazing.
No
the concept.
Oh yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Maybe I'll report back next time with a bit of my thoughts on it. But Mind's Eye, I didn't even want to give this guy credit, so I didn't remember his name. The head guy behind it was out there already blaming. There's a secret crew of people who are getting paid to badmouth the game and everything. He apparently led some of the big Rockstar games, the Grand Theft Auto games back in the day, and he broke off on his own. You know what I mean? But the game is a mess. It is an absolute travesty. You can spaghetti and tent people. So if you like pull up to them and bump them and back up and then drive into them, they warp and go crazy, and you can do that with anything. You fail missions very easily, and it's an absolute mess. And seeing people dunk on it's never fun to see somebody's project or whatever getting dunked on and get made fun of. But when you're out there trash talking people, and there was you do partnerships with streamers, like, hey, play our game or whatever. He was pulling partnerships midstream. So he was pulling that like deal that they had right before they were about to stream or whatever, because they talked about some of the bad review scores. And that's just in bad faith. Let the people play and give their opinion on it and say, hey, instead of being humble and like, hey, look, we recognize, we made mistakes or something, we'll fix it or just stick with us. They're out there just pointing to blame at everybody else. That was your project. That was your thing to do. And you released it, and now you can't take any criticisms, and you're just putting the blame on the players and the people who you paid to play the game, which is crazy.
Yeah, I go to the Hollywood on this example. Like, typically, I feel like there's a lot of movies, like directors who've done like a bad film, but you're lucky if it's your second or third film, and you still have that darling first film that everyone just loves and remembers, and they know that you're capable of greatness if you are really just got the right idea and you're trying. I mean, like, and most of those people, they give their shot. Like, I can think of several directors that have done some bad, like, moves, and then, like, later on, they're like, studios keep giving them jobs. I keep seeing these actors and or actresses, directors, others just, like, come back. You know what I mean? Like, you think they're kind of finished. I mean, I was like, whoever, I can't remember her name, because it was this one's, like, the Snow White actress I seen. People were still talking.
Oh, yeah.
And I think she's got some jobs. I mean, Gal Gadot was kind of like roasting that one, but she's got some. I mean, I think it's one of those things where usually if you do something pretty good for a little while, and then you're kind of bad, and then you come back, it's a lot easier than if you just suck off like the start.
Yeah.
Like if you're just terrible and your first game's trash, and no one's going to have that memory to be like, well, you did make that. They did make that game. They made that game, and then they sucked for like 4 games, and then they made a really good comeback.
Yeah.
Everybody loves a good comeback.
I mean, honestly, if he just owns up, says, hey, look, my bad. And then it's like, look, we're going to fix the game, or we're going to try better next time. Just get involved. Don't just make stuff and then put it out and like, oh, that's your fault. You didn't enjoy it the way you're supposed to. And it's like, what? That's not how art works.
Being humble definitely helps. Like, being able to take, like you said, it's just being a good sport. It's being able to be like, hey, that's part of the artistic expression, is taking criticism, basically learning from it, and then basically like, all right, these are the things I need to improve on. And I know on a big project you got tons of money involved, and it's kind of hard to hear that, but the only way to get better as an artist or creator is to literally take that criticism and take it on the nose. People are just going to say, sometimes people are just going to be like, even if it was a 99 out of 100 film and everyone scored it great or a game, they're going to say you suck.
Yep.
There's always going to be that. Yeah, and I was like, some people actually they love to hate just when everyone else loves it, because it's just the opposite opinion.
Yeah, drama channels love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, just take it on the nose and just go about your day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the only way you can be. Otherwise, you become a laughing stock when you literally realize, and it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Bad, yeah.
And then people don't work with you because it's like they see you just like tantrums. Like, you know,
and
like
you're tainted. Yeah.
And you're acting out, and it's like, don't do this, man.
Yeah.
Be better.
Let's see. Bonanza.
That I'm ready.
Yeah.
So I did get to squeeze that in when Steven and I were in Vegas.
Yep.
You know, he was in Zia Records, and I was like, I'm pulling it up. I like watched the whole thing. I think it's like, I believe even Steven said it. He had said, like, you know, you don't need to watch a video if you already know you're going to buy it and play it. Like, if you're already, maybe you've said it. Somebody said it recently, and I believe it was one of you two. And I had 100% agree. I already knew I was getting it. It was like almost a day one. It was system seller for me. I know there's not many other Mario Kart World than that. And maybe you could say Kirby Riders if you really be an early adopter, because you might be able to find a console before it comes out. But when I knew Bonanza was coming out like a month after Switch 2, that was the reason I was like, I've got to get a Switch 2.
Yep.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. I will not wait. So, gameplay looks really good. I stand by this for every game, and for the ones that are most memorable, traversal systems matter.
Yeah.
How, you know, like Spider-Man to me, the 2018 one, so fun because it's fun to travel, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, the games where it's not fun to travel, I mean, that's the whole point, is like web swinging between buildings, running on the buildings, you know, being able to jump, you know, all that really matters when you, like Tony Hawk, the original Pro Skaters. Very fun just to move around in the game. You can do tricks and all that stuff, but like when you're literally going, you know, you can grind everything, go off, go through all that stuff. So like, Bonanza, just seeing that they have where you can bust through anything. You can use rocks. You can transform into different creatures.
Yeah,
100%. I was like, I'm down 100% on this game. Like,
I remember my jaw dropped when they're like, yeah, you can just pick up like wet sand and just stack it. And I was like, what? Like, oh, people are going to make some awesome stuff. It's going to be really, really good. Yeah.
Very sandboxy for a game that's maybe not intended to be one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm like, man, that's going to be sick. Like, and then fully voice acted for Pauline, and the voice acting to me was good.
Yeah.
I loved it. I was like, wow, this is not something Nintendo. I mean, I feel like this is probably in the pipeline. I mean, obviously, they probably make it 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
But I could see the shift several years ago outwardly, too. Like, whenever you saw the Mario movie coming, whenever you start seeing, like, they're like, hey, Charles Martinet, we love you. We love your legacy.
Yeah.
They're shelving some of these different people, and they're kind of, I could tell there's something going on in the background. There's a new direction. And I would not be shocked if they have their eyes on, not maybe necessarily being, I mean, it'd be like a Disney, you know. I'm not saying they will ever maybe be Disney size, because Disney is a beast of a size to compete with. But them getting in the theme parks, them getting on lunchboxes, the merch. I've seen more merch pushed by them, like generalized merch of like kids' book bags, T-shirt. I think this whole thing is just a bigger.
Yeah. And fun fact, Nintendo, the movie production, because they have a movie production side of it, they help with Death Stranding too.
Yes, I saw that. Because they bought the company that was already probably agreed to, is what I read, and then they were. But it was funny because Nintendo Pictures, and I believe Sony helped with something else. Nintendo's, I can't remember what it was. Actually, it's Mario Movie 2.
Okay,
Sony Pictures, I believe, is involved in some way. But I think with that, if you watch like them giving a voice with like Mario Movie, like, you know, Mario's talking. I mean, it's Chris Pratt, but he's talking the whole time.
Yeah,
I think they're going in a different direction, and in a good way. They're really expanding on the characters in a way where it's like more than just those 5 or 6 iconic lines, but like, you know, like they're like, hey, let's go beyond Mamma Mia and like just figure out, you know, like.
And I think they're trying to establish some sort of lore, because for you know, since the beginning, the lore's been everywhere. I mean, you look at even Zelda, like that whole world, there's a compendium set of books, because the lore is so fragmented, it's so crazy. And you see them kind of trying to rein that in a little bit with, like, you know, Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. And it's supposedly the upcoming like movie or show, you know, it's still in the air. I know they said they were moving forward with it, but there's been no real news on that. But maybe they're just trying to establish a set of rules going forward. You know, even Samus, like every adventure is completely different almost, you know what I mean, aside from the remakes. But, you know, maybe they're just trying to go in that direction, like, hey, we need to we're going to need to do voice acting if we're going to have movies and shows and all that stuff. So maybe we need to also set a guideline on the world building and see what, you know, where they can go from there.
I think they got scarred by Metroid Other M so badly on voice acting that it has literally taken until the last 3 to 5 years, and that I think they've kind of realized if we want people to form a connection beyond the games, we really got to make these people like fully fleshed on characters. Like, again, it's harder to relate to Mario when he doesn't have as much, like, you don't know much more about his personality than he's like a hero and he saves people and he fights the bad guy, but it's like just maybe getting a sense for his personality. Like Luigi's got a lot of personality. Like they've really fleshed out Luigi in the last, honestly, I'd say 15 years even. Like, I mean, like if you look at all the Luigi, just the way he acts, the death stare, everything he does, like he's he's fun. He's hilarious. Like every game, I mean Mario Party Jamboree, I just always like goody, like he just has like the little goody, like it's so funny. Like he's so silly, and then like in the Smash when he does like the freaking like guac, and it just does like the little like karate chop, and there's like the little vacuum pops out. Yeah, he has like the meme-ish. If you do the taunt where he like just kicks like. Kind of like he's like sad. He's like kicking the dirt.
Oh yeah,
if you have someone at the edge, you literally can like meteor them. It's a 1% move.
That's funny.
But it literally will like straight down. So, I mean,
that's
like
hilarious.
It's the only one I'm aware of that does something like that. So it's like they always kind of save their best memes, I'd say, for like Luigi.
Yeah, and I like him in Luigi's Mansion just across the board. His little scare, like, whoa.
Yeah, it's perfect, man.
It's so funny. He's just like, oh god.
I'm hoping I think with the Mario 2 movie, like Bonanza, like the whole overall picture, like you said, they're definitely focusing in on creating like a NCU and otherwise. I mean, they're working on it, like piecing it all together. I think I agree with you because I've wondered about that. My first game was Donkey Kong Game Boy, which was literally the iconic like Donkey Kong steals Pauline, Mario's girlfriend. At the time, they kind of have said that, but they've kind of never really because it's kind of awkward because they like left her to the sidelines for like 30-some years until Switch, and then they finally were like, let's put Pauline in some kind of like every generation. They actually usually add about one girl, at least they have in the last like Wii and Wii U era was like. Well, actually, I think Wii U was Rosalina.
Yeah, that was big. Rosalina.
And then, Pauline and Daisy was like GameCube 64-ish. Yep. I mean, maybe not every gen, but about every 1 to 2 they've added a female character. So it's interesting to see her being. I'm curious, like you were saying, like on the storyline, like you kidnapped her, and are you trying to rewrite a little bit of the history and make it different? Which it looks great.
Yeah, and then where does this fall in like between the Odyssey and Bonanza? Because it is the Odyssey team. I'm not saying they're connected, that world or whatever, but like in Bonanza, she's a little girl, but in Odyssey, she's fully grown. Yeah, and it's. Like that'd be weird if they like connect that somehow, but maybe this is their way of doing it. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do with that.
I would love to see like a team up game.
Oh man,
where you can do Mario and Donkey Kong, and like
my god,
you're fighting like maybe they'll do like King K. Rool and Bowser or another Donkey Kong villain of sorts, and like they basically have like the ultimate like the two team up and you're teamed up and like unique combos. Like maybe you roll Mario into like a bowling ball, and like you can like roll them and.
They can do Pauline and Peach too. Like that'd be a whole nother team. That'd be cool.
I'd love to see some stuff like that. See what they could do. That would be an amazing game as like a team up one. So.
Yeah. All right. So lastly, what I have at least here on my docket, and they asked GameSpot reached out to Xbox co-founder Laura Fryer, and she said Xbox has no desire to make hardware anymore, which to me seems like a bit of a loaded kind of response. She's one of the co-founders of Xbox, and they asked her the current opinion on Xbox and Xbox's general direction. And her saying that makes it seem that they want to get out of the hardware business completely, which you can see, if you think about Game Pass and all that stuff. But it also makes it seem like they just don't have the passion to make the hardware themselves anymore. They just announced that team up with AMD, but they've announced stuff like that before with their consoles, like, our next console's powered by this, and that's fine. But you have the Oculus, Xbox S series, 3S, and then the Xbox ROG Ally X, which is just it's weird because they seem to be doing these partnerships. Do they want their own hardware anymore, or do they want to like 3DO it? Do they want to license that out to other manufacturers to do that, or team up with just one company and have them deal with it and they focus on the software side?
I mean, I think it's like this. I bet that they wish they could take a time machine and go forward 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
And Game Pass is an overwhelming success. They are software darlings. They don't have to make the hardware to push Game Pass. In a dream world for them, Nintendo and PlayStation maybe do the consoles, and online Steam's doing it, and like everybody just open arms accepts Game Pass and says like you can just put it on the platform. It's a bonus, and Xbox is making max profits for shareholders, and everybody wins, and they're able to like just do as I feel like obviously wish and please in that field. And I think it annoys them to make consoles. I don't think they really enjoy it. Like you said, I don't think they do. It's more of like obviously ever since 2013 when the Xbox One, they announced digital, you got to imagine it's not just 2013, but it's like however long Xbox One was in development. And then so maybe 2010, 2009, 2011 or 12, someone's like, let's just not do it. Let's not do the disc. Let's just get rid of it now. And so, I mean, they've wanted this for like at least probably 15 years. 12 to 15 years of like wanting this pathway. So, I mean, like I imagine they get annoyed when they don't see Series S doing as well as they wanted and it not taking off. And then they're constantly trying to make sure like, hey, there's a digital Xbox One, Series X, they're constantly trying to make sure that the digital outfits out there. And you do see more people doing it. Yeah. So I don't want to make it sound like their efforts are for nothing, but I bet you they wish they could skip ahead. Yeah. They probably have not even cared to do the last 10 or 15 years realistically. They probably have wanted it. They could, again, in their kind of world, like if they could really do it how they want it. Xbox One got announced in 2013. Everyone took it great. They were like, you know what? Overwhelming arms are like, this is amazing. I'm tired of the physical disc. And they just said, cool, great. Yeah. I bet you that's what they wished, but hard to do.
For me, I feel like Xbox keeps stepping on their own toes because Microsoft is a massive, massive company with infinite resources, literal infinite resources. They own the AI. I forget which one it is. They own that. They've bought, they had Skype, they had Mixer, they had all of these resources, all of these companies to do whatever they wanted and everything. Literally, they could have owned everything, but they keep stepping on their own toes. When the original Xbox came out, it was revolutionary because you could, in my opinion, because hackers took that console and customized it to the T. Mm-hmm. You can have custom LEDs, you can download games on it. You can install. You can FTP into it, which is insane. You had trainers, cheats for games, and all that stuff. Like it was insane. And I think that Microsoft saw that, and they created the 360. And now you've got faceplates. You can customize your Xbox, and there's an LED and all this stuff that you can somewhat change. And the dashboard is customizable, and you can do whatever you want. But modders and hackers weren't able to really do anything with that. Like that was it. And so Microsoft took the wrong lessons from that and created the Xbox One. And I think they've been scarred ever since. So I think they just want to be done with it. They don't care. They're just tired of dealing with it. But at the same time, you almost have to have hardware. Yeah. In order, you have to be on a shelf somewhere. People still think that way, even though digital's accounts for 70+% of all video game sales.
Yeah, I think it's last I looked, it was 66%.
Yeah, that's
so it might even be over 70 now. I don't know. That percentage grows. Every year. It used to be 2/3 years ago was physical when we first started, and now we're a third. But I could see why, because I mean, stores like Best Buy, Target, Walmart, they've purged a lot of shelves. Yep. We're seeing it first. I'd believe with like CDs. Then DVD, 4K Blu-rays. Yeah. Like Target got rid of their whole selection just last year. Best Buy's got rid of their selection, and then like you got GameStop. I think it's like the last one of those. And we're just watching these other industries kind of do. I mean, and again, like someone like for us, as long as they do make some sort of disc. Yep. I mean, I can think of a personal friend who his business makes a ton of movie sales. I mean, like orders a pallet of movies for 4K movies. People do still want it, but cool thing is for him, there's a lot more for him to eat on as a small company than like these big guys who they need to see monstrous profits, and they're like, hey, so it kind of leaves room for like smaller players and medium-sized players to come in. But I think that's just, I mean, it's where we're heading, but it is done very interestingly. Like it's, I just wished it was more like we talked last time, more love being done, more care, not such a I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like Microsoft just doesn't want to be bothered. They're just like, all right, you guys want it, fine. You know what I mean? And it's just really weird. They seem to always take the wrong lessons. They make the wrong decision.
Yes.
It's just like, who are you listening to? Stop. Don't listen to people like on social media. People who actually volunteer to give their opinion to you, listen to them. If they're on your forums or they're sending you emails or taking the surveys, listen to those people. Those people have enjoyed your products and actually have an input. They have a stake in your success. If you just listen to people who are going to complain about your stuff and all, it just doesn't really work.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if there needs to be some sort of like change, at the top or what, but I don't know. I have no idea.
It baffles me. I'm baffled as well as you are, because when they started putting all their first-party games on Game Pass day one, that was when I knew. I was like we stopped caring. Like, we were talking about, I was thinking about doing Xbox games. Like, I haven't carried new Xbox for that exact reason. Like, why compete with that when like someone who pays $20 every month after month, I've made 15 to 20 now.
Yeah, about that.
Like, you can get it day one. I'm like, okay, well, I was like, I'd probably do it if that was it's a great value proposition. There's probably a new game coming out about every month or two. So,
and if you never signed up, it's literally $1.
Yeah,
first month. Like,
I know a lot of people who literally like they'll do the codes or like you have to. I think you have to wait a certain amount of time, and you can do it every so often.
Yeah.
I've met people who are like, I'll wait for the $1 offer, and I just do the $1 offer. So like, you can't beat that. It's just incredible. But I knew that was them putting their own like. It's kind of like point at the problem kind of thing, like they created, but like basically like. I've seen like the memes where it's like, who killed this person? And it's like them holding the gun. Like,
oh yeah, why would they do this?
Yeah, why would they do this? But it's them themselves. Like they're like, physical game sales, they suck. And I'm like, well, dude, you kind of
what happened?
You manufactured the problem, you created it yourself, and then you're looking at it like, well, this is terrible. Like, no one should be buying these. We have reason not to do them anymore. And then everyone's like, I think it's mainly just, again, they have to do these steps. They're basically like, it's like this long planned out like murder scene of like, how do I kill like off physical gaming? And they're like, what steps do I need to take to get there to make it look as like believable, take as less flack, to have like the audiences follow us and not just be like, wow, you really just kind of, because like if they went straight path to it, then you could end up being like a Stadia where people, just really hyped up for your product, but then they just drop off and you die.
Yeah.
I think they'd rather keep their audience, but they're like, what kind of slow, meticulous route can we take to get there, but kind of look interested when we're not?
Yeah.
So then you get loose headlines like this.
Yeah. It's just a weird situation. I don't know how they remedy that aside from like just giving a damn. Just care. You know what I mean? Like, at least put some effort into it. Yeah. Honestly.
That would make everyone care.
Yeah.
If that was coming in massive, like, just piles of money, bags of money.
Yeah, I think that's another problem too, is because they spent $100 million on R&D for a controller for the Xbox One. What do you do? Why? The 360 controller was already pretty good. If you wanted a brand new controller, why $100 million?
Well, it's the same thing for the AI. I think OpenAI was a company that Microsoft invested in, and like, Deep Sea in China, $6 million, and it was leaps and bounds better. But I think over $1 billion in general has been spent in the North American market for AI. I've been like, look, someone out navigated you with like not even 6%, like 0.06 maybe percent of the budget you spent, and they've out navigated you, scrappy their way to like the top. Yeah. It's a great example, like where you have too much product, too much money, too much. You just throw it at something, and like that's where like like indie developers and others eventually, it happens to a lot of people. It almost happens to everybody. You get too big, and you just have so much going on that it just gets to the point you don't really care like you once did back when you had to care. Yeah. Now you've gotten your way to the top, and it's kind of like, we're fine.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Just throw money at it. It's kind of like they were hoping it's like Bitcoin, where they just throw money at something and it just, oh wow, look at this return. So
it's not going to happen. So
but that's all I have. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce a fellow awesome human being who I love very much. He reminds me of Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. When in the first Avengers movie, when he walks in and he starts talking, and I forget her name, she says, "Oh, Robin, I think is her name. Oh, when did you become an expert in thermonuclear dynamics or whatever?" And he's like, "Last night." Yeah, that's this gentleman here. He do the same. Like 1 week it took. I was like, oh, maybe I'll look into Magic. And the next week he's like, oh yeah, and you can do this, and then it's insane. It's like learning a new language, and he does it without even trying.
The walking encyclopedia.
Amazing. But
a young T.S. Eliot.
Yeah. I want to introduce Steven. Get in here.
Come on down. We're welcoming Steven to the podcast. So my brother and me, this is Steven Clark. We just got back from Las Vegas at MagicCon. And I don't know, it was a lot of fun. We got to, we did like Friday, and we got to see all different shops and even go to the infamous Stomping Grounds boba shop at one point or what have you. So it was just a lot of fun, I think, to see. We got to see the Edges of Eternity's previews. Got to watch a lot in live, the Avatar The Last Airbender preview. And that was just a lot of fun. But as we were talking, we got to also play some standard matches and kind of just do that. And we got to see, which today's like, July 30th, I believe. 30th, yeah. So we got to see the standard cards that were banned, which we got to see in play. Corey Steelcutter, Up the Beanstalk, Monstrous Rage.
Heartfire Hero, I think, too.
Yeah. And so we got to see all those in play. And it's ironic as we were in a standard tournament to see all that just kind of and get completely board wiped off the the map. No more competitive play with those in standard. So, and it was interesting. Red white decks. We got to see kind of kept everything. It was kind of just dominated by mono red, and I believe was it mono white actually.
It was
or is it?
It was mono red and it was blue red. Is it prowess decks?
That makes a lot more sense because I know. Blue, the amount of hate I see towards blue players with just control, like everybody, all four is just.
I kind of get it now. I'm gonna be real with you. It's like, oh yeah, I play this card. No, you don't. It's like, you don't play the card. Like black's a little like that too. I've heard in Commander, blue black is the most oppressive combo because it's like sacrifice that card. Oh, don't play that card. Give me that card. Just a lot of control. And in any card game, the more control you have, the better the outcome is probably going to be for you. Generally,
yeah. I mean, we got to see the hype firsthand of Final Fantasy, just seeing how people were acting there and the lines and just seeing the collector boosters, everyone just feeding into this frenzy. And as we were talking today, collector boosters have hit an all-time high as fast. Not that it's the highest collector booster. I believe Lord of the Rings Special Edition holds that mantle at around the 1,700 mark. Last I checked. But it's 1,200 in about a month. Actually, less than a month.
Yeah, I think it's right under 1,200 today. I think it's 1,185 before we checked, before we got on the podcast. But just an incredible amount. If you look at the graph they have, in the last week, it's gone up to $300. It was an incredibly steep climb.
Very quick.
Yes, very, very quick.
Do you believe it is a genuine rise, a pump and dump? Do you believe it's a buyout kind of thing? What do you think about the numbers personally? Have you thought about it much?
For the collector's boosters, I mean, there are some genuinely exclusive cards in there that are, very good, right? Mm-hmm. But I'll be honest, there's also a lot of rares in this set and mythics you can get in the regular play boosters that are really strong. I would say probably it's just the art, the surge foils, for Cloud, for everybody.
Yeah, surge foils for sure, especially the high-end ones.
That's what I was going to say. That's definitely probably what it is. I mean, I don't know if this is the set that has the highest amount of what would you call it? Cards over a couple $100, just you're talking about 10, 20, maybe 15 top pulls, right? So fast, right? This isn't a set that's been out for years. It's hard to get. It just came out, right? Already we're seeing, I mean, we sell cards at the store, a lot, right?
Yeah.
And we check, chase cards, right? Top cards in a set. And typically it's your first 5 cards, maybe.
Yeah, your first page, maybe page and a half. Sometimes.
Yeah, maybe a page, and you'll drop down by the end of the page to $30. Right?
Yeah, you're talking under 5, 5 and under almost, maybe 10 sometimes. But.
Yeah, maybe, and that there's some of these cards that are $800. You know what I mean? $700. I mean, just incredible. But that's the staying power of Final Fantasy. That's the point of this whole collab, and I will say they did it amazingly. The collab is great.
Yeah,
we went to the panel where they talked about making this set for 5 years.
5 years of love and back and forth. And they 2 or 3 nights they said in Japan they sat together their teams and then they talked fondly of each other too. They were I guess they had said we hope to work together in the future. I had mentioned that I posed the question to you on the trip, would it be a good Universes Beyond? I said Dragon Quest to me would be, because it's got multiple games, lore, 30-something years, it's fantasy, It's got another, like Square Enix top. Yeah, they have a history now together established with Square Enix, like it's work together history. I still stand by Elden Ring, Dark Souls, like, just From Software would be Bloodborne, all of that would be, fantasy would be an incredible, like, because they do, like someone said, they lean towards the darker side of fantasy more than like the brighter, like, I mean, I'm waiting. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked if they've already done it. I don't think they have, but like an Adventure Time Secret Lair, if it hasn't already been done.
I don't think there's an Adventure Time Secret Lair, but I was talking to one of the people at the store coworkers, and we were talking about what if they did Adventure Time, what if they did Steven Universe, what if they did DC, which I said that one's most plausible to me. DC usually follows Marvel's marketing steps.
Yes.
Like right now on Fortnite, I mean, you don't really play Fortnite, but they're doing Superman season. Yes. He's the main, extra skin because, and Marvel owns part of Fortnite. They bought like 10% of Epic.
Right, you're right.
So they did Star Wars in May. They brought Star Wars back again. This is the third time Star Wars has been in Fortnite, but every time it seems like to me there's a Marvel season where they have Marvel skins that are part of the Battle Pass. There's always a DC skin, and now we have about 15 or 20 DC skins in the game, and like, maybe it's not very creative of them, but they always tend to follow Marvel's lead. So I could see that, like a DC Secret Lair or a DC Universe Beyond set. Harry Potter was a big one we talked about that would fit like a glove. That's also Warner Brothers, neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that was one that I think would be a fantastic, like, just lead up for it. So we've got, as you're excited for, the Avatar set, which is going to be... And Spider-Man, the collector's box is already hitting $700 on preset. But we haven't seen any previews. So, like, I think previews will either cause it to go... Because, like, I remember when we saw, like, Through the Ages for Final Fantasy... Yes. They said that this was the longest pre-order cycle that was ever done. Was basically like...
was it 6 months? 5 months?
It was a long time. I remember, like, February.
We were talking about this, like, at the beginning of the year.
And in February, I believe, is when they opened up pre-orders for, like, stores like us. And... I didn't know the allocations till like May 1st to May 10th, like, which was wild because the amount of questions I had like on a personal level, like, hey man, let me get that collector's box. Hey man, let me get a play. And I was like, I don't know what our numbers are going to be. Edge of Eternities looks like our numbers are so far, unless they've not been adjusted, fantastic.
Okay.
Sometimes it's good and bad. I mean, even if the set's bad and it's Aether Drift levels of like, hopefully it's a notch or two above that one. It's still good because it's like you took the allocation on the bad set, and that's what people have to understand is like you take a lot of bad sets, which honestly, when you take a bad set, it just means you just basically lost, broke even, or got close to your money just being like nothing. Oh, yeah. And as a business, that's kind of hard to do. That's hard to like hold the bags. So when you get a set like Final Fantasy, you get a set like Spider-Man or Avatar, you're like, thank God, like, like movable product that'll move. But you obviously, community matters a lot. Like one thing I took from it, this is our first like tournament. I know we both came out of it like very positive experience. Like really enjoyed the Magic community. Really, actually, like everyone I played against, I told them, said, hey, for this year, kind of a newer to the game as far as a player, and they were all just incredibly kind, wonderful. A lot of these kind of card games get like smells. Usually is the comment. What you smell like BO for like sweat it kind of BO for like maybe 30 seconds once, and we're in Vegas in 110, 120 degree heat.
Yeah, no.
And only one time for half a second, their air purification system there must have been just off the charts.
No, it was amazing. I think we were literally in that giant line going to the official Magic store is when we smelled that. And it was like, we were like in a couple hundred people, maybe 1,000 maybe even. It was
barely,
a huge
like
line.
I said, just second. And also repping the shirt, the buffet goose, from Mother Goose, the Hydra Goose. So.
Is it a Mother of Hydras? I think, right?
I think so. Yeah. And they had the Liliana shirt I got, and there was the artist was probably our favorite thing outside of playing.
Oh yeah, I wish I brought my playmat. I could have shown. I thought about doing that, but I forgot. But yeah, I got one from it's Andrew Thompson. But just a beautiful playmats they had there. So many different ones. I wasn't going to buy another playmat. And I saw that. I was like, I kind of have to get this. Like, these are amazing,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was really good, though.
It reminded me of the Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship that Bailey and I have been to. Obviously, we didn't play in that one because we're not world champions. But we went more like to enjoy the atmosphere and the vendors. But it was similar to this. It wasn't. I actually was shocked there wasn't a lot of side. It was very controlled on who was vending. Like
not a lot of food vendors either.
No, very, like I said, just very controlled environment as far as like, hey, you got your singles vendors and like new product, and then you've got like your accessories. Probably like people they work closely with, like they have contracts with Ultra Pro, Ultimate Guard, Square, all these companies. Right. So they're like, hey, you can come in and advertise your stuff, and you're going to be here. a lot of it was like definitely focused towards like there was a little bit of the artists.
Yes.
There was the Pro Tour section, free play section, and ticketed play section. And like that to me, like it was the primary like amount, like just huge amount of like room for those three areas. You know?
Oh yeah. Well, the ticketed play section, I think I made the comment to you when we were coming down the stairs. It was like to our left. I was like, I glanced, I'm like, I think I said, I'm like, Spencer, it looks like it goes on forever.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, and I only looked for like a second, maybe 2 seconds, but I was like, I could barely see the back of the convention center where it ended, just the infinite tables, you know. I think they had a booth blocking the view a little bit at one point, but it looked like it went on and on and on, right? And we were trying to find the, the red mana desk?
Yeah.
And we had to walk all the way around the booth, and then it was like, oh, you got to go to the black mana, which wasn't that far, but... You know, they had about, like 100 tables for our quarter, and then they had 4 quarters for the ticket play, it looked like. And I didn't even really look to see the end of where it ended after that, right?
It was crazy. Oh, yeah. I'd say very well done. Lines are, well, the line for the merch was terrible. Like, that's not maybe their fault. They did have 10, 15 people working.
Yes.
Like, at least. So it wasn't like they had a shortage, but... You know, it was like, man, this is just a lot of people, and we rushed. Remember, we like ran.
Oh yeah, we got in there as soon as I think we were in the middle of like all the lines, though. We were like, you know what I mean. So it's not the worst. I feel bad if you were at the end of that line and you were trying to get into that shot, man. But it was good. I mean, standard play was really fun. You know, like you said, we haven't really played before, so like my opponents, you know, they were all very chill. You know what I mean? They were all very cool. It was really interesting because like we just kind of gotten into Commander, but. I really enjoyed my matches. I enjoyed the flow, everything. I took a little, maybe too long. I was kind of chatting a little too much.
Enjoying your time, though.
Yeah, maybe. I was like, the judge came by and said, you got 5 turns to finish, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. But no, it was really good. And the last guy I played, you know, I think you saw that. He had a very, like, meta deck.
Yes.
He was doing that whole, oh, God, what is it? Is it River Meringue Dragon, where you can bounce your cards back to your hand.
Yes.
He had Omniscience. You know, he had Abuela's Awakening, which just got banned, right?
Yeah.
And he was a really chill guy. I wasn't really mad or anything. I'll be honest with you. Everything was going kind of all right. And then it got to like this turn. I think it was turn 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And he just started drawing his whole deck pretty much. And I was like, oh, I'm cooked, right? Like this is... I wasn't mad. I was just like, yeah, this is probably over. Then the second game, I was like, well, if I can ramp faster than he can do that. And it took about 8 turns for him to do it. And I was like, I just didn't get the cards I needed. I was like, okay, if I would have had a better green deck, I might have had an alright
But
shot.
you made that on the fly, though. You made that, I'd say even that week, like from the cards you'd gotten. So, like, I'd say considering that, you did fairly pretty well. So, I would definitely, if I had to think about it a little bit, like, trip, overall enjoyable. Want to give a shout out to Natural 20 Gaming. That was my favorite shop. Like, everything that, because we visit maybe, I'd say like 8 to 12 different card shops possibly.
We went to a lot of card shops.
And I'm going to say, like, out of all of them, they had the best environment, most open bathrooms, very clean, very like every person. Like even when we said we're out of town, they didn't, you know, like they didn't like, oh, we're going to treat them different. Like, just felt very welcome. They're like, hey, here's our sink. You know, very. I mean, like, absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah.
And it was funny, like when we went to, I was talking about Stomping Grounds because I was like, hey, everyone shops them out. They're huge, they're massive. And we found out they were a boba shop, TK Bobas. They're apparently opening one next month. And then we had the same similar scenario where we tried to go to the other dark side. And we saw like an ice cream shop. And we're like, and it was like, heck, collecting. I was like, is every shop here?
I
like
mean, it's 110 degrees. You know, I said, I was like, maybe it's the meta out here to sell ice cream too. People are hot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, ice cream shops have to do well in Vegas. You know, we saw quite a few of them, right?
Yeah.
We went to that Colts con. So, I mean, it worked on us. So, I almost believed it for a second, but I know they said they had just closed earlier. But it was a good trip overall. It was a good experience. I know you were talking about the one in Atlanta coming up.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly,
MagicCon.
if I wasn't saving for the Avatar set, I might go, you know, just to have fun.
Just to have fun, just to play. So,
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's a fun time. I think the standard events will be there. I think that's always a problem. That was one thing I'll comment on based on this was that the top players, like I said, are mostly the Isrit and, like, mono reds.
Yes.
And when you see that much concentrated decks, like you said, what was it you said earlier to me? You said,
Oh, man, it was 48%. And that's not counting mirror matches, but the Izzet decks accounted for 48% of all wins, which doesn't sound like it, but I think it was 300 games.
I mean,
It might have been
1 and 2.
400. Yeah, so, you know, you think about that. Of course, they're going to lose some against themselves, right? But that's still, you know, it should be usually like 30%, maybe 20%, right? And, like, you know, there's this YouTuber I watched. He was like, you know, these aren't even the best decks, in my opinion, but there's just so many of them, you know, kind of overwhelming.
Yeah. You want variety. I mean, it reminds me of for some closing comments, like Smash Brothers, when you have like...
Oh, wait, the meta.
Yeah, when you go back to like Smash Brothers Melee versus Smash Brothers Ultimate, like Melee, like people do the special spot, all that, but like really, it's like what, like 3 to 6 characters are really the most.
It's like
viable
4 characters. Really, there's like 3 or 4 extras that can compete, but it's like
the right player has to be heavily.
There's
involved.
Like 1 or 2 pros who play. There's like one guy who plays Pikachu. Like I think it's Axel, and like I think he's the only real high up professional Pikachu. I could be mistaken. There's one guy who made Yoshi work. Donkey Kong is now meta in Melee. Like one guy mastered Donkey Kong after 20 years, and now he's meta. And I'm like, okay, it took 20 years. You know what I mean?
But it reminds me of that because like Melee, like it's a great game and everyone respects, but like I prefer a game like Ultimate where like the tier list, there is that A through F, but like really A through C, the tier list and Melee is like this. Like the difference, the drop off from like the top to the bottom is crazy.
Oh yeah.
But like, you know, realistically, like Ultimate's like this. Like, yeah, there's like some top tier characters.
Yes.
But there are ones that you can be viable with, and it's just fun to see that. It's
definitely
more healthier, balanced meta. And I know Magic has the play testers, the environment, all that stuff. So like, I get it. But like, if this is the format you're really trying to push, and I know you're trying to leech on to not leech on to, but you're trying to be a part of Commander more. Like you're really trying to be like, hey, I see this really popular format and I want to be a part of it more. Then you need to figure out ways to like, if you're going to do that, because I see people getting so upset about them like making any moves with Commander because that's like, you know what I mean? Like I guess they just don't want to mess with really. So like for me with the Standard, it's like you got to make Standard more, I want to say viable, I guess just more balanced, more.
I mean, maybe more balanced.
Fun,
you know, I don't know because like you have 4 copies of most cards. If that's kind of a thing too, is like to build a really viable deck, you have to get some of the best cards. You have to get a couple copies of the best cards, right? And you know, it makes the decks more consistent, but it also affects like creativity. Maybe they can make it only 2 copies of the best cards. That would really shake things up. 3 copies even. That would, your chances of drawing at any given point is just a lot lower. Right?
Or maybe figuring out a way of limiting certain cards that are kind of not the best.
Restricted. You could restrict because they do bans. I don't think there's any really restricted cards for the most part, which is, you know, they obviously only the last 2 years of sets are legal, so I assume they've really looked at it hard and they said, okay, we're going to balance these sets as they come out, right?
We're balancing the colors.
Yeah, balancing the colors.
You know, like basically saying like, okay, if this is skewing towards one color, then how can we buff the other colors? But regardless, for time today, we need to probably wrap this up. Fantastic trip. Really enjoyed just getting to spend time together.
No, really fun.
It was a lot of fun. Definitely would do it again. Like Wizards of the Coast I'm just going to say I felt like a fantastic job. Really enjoyed it.
Good venue.
Makes me excited for future sets this year to see what they do. I'm not a much of a space guy, but like Tarkir and like Innistrad was cool for this year. I'd like to see. We got Lorwyn tees. I'd like to see where they're going with that. So
obviously Avatar set. You know, I'm very excited to see what we got. August 12th, Comic-Con. They're going to reveal that. I'm assuming the Spider-Man set too. So, and I don't know when they're going to tell us about other Universe Beyond sets. I assume closer to November.
Yeah. So I'm very excited, guys. Just want to say thank you so much, as always, for watching us, for supporting us. It's been a very busy time, and we can't, thank you guys enough. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without you guys. So this is we're signing off. Xavier's back in the background. And Steven, and then Spencer, I mixed it up. I don't know how. It's Spencer, and then you get me and my brother Steven, so he gets to join us today. So you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, have a good one.